Welcome, and thank you for your interest in the Federal Highway Administration's Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis spreadsheet tool. This video demonstrates how to use the spreadsheet tool. After watching this video, you should be able to use the Crash Cost spreadsheet tool to develop or adjust crash costs and access related resources. You can watch the entire video from start to finish, or use the table of contents feature on the left to skip to specific sections. This section provides an overview of the Crash Cost Spreadsheet tool. The Crash Cost Spreadsheet tool accompanies FHWA's Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide, which was published in January 2018. The purpose of this tool is to assist practitioners and researchers with crash cost calculations to support highway safety management decisions. The spreadsheet tool can help you estimate crash costs for a state or region in a given year using the methods from the guide. The spreadsheet includes modules that facilitate each type of calculation presented in the guide. The Welcome tab provides information about the spreadsheet version, a link to the guide, and contact information to report errors and issues. The following demonstrations are recorded with version 1.0 of the spreadsheet tool, which was released in February 2018. The Introduction tab covers the purpose of the spreadsheet and orients users to the tool's formatting. Each tab uses the same color coding to format cells. You enter data in yellow cells and view results in blue cells. Gray cells are calculated automatically or not used. Some cells allow you to enter any value, while others are limited to drop-down selections. This section demonstrates each module of the Crash Cost Spreadsheet tool. The remaining tabs facilitate the 5 calculations covered in the Crash Cost Guide video, including T-KM to translate the number of CABCO person injuries to MAIS person injuries, T-MK to translate MAIS person injury costs to CABCO person injury costs, convert to convert CABCO person injury to CABCO crash costs or between number of CABCO crashes and CABCO person injuries or vehicles, adjust to adjust national costs to a state or from state to state, and update to update costs from year to year. The Full Calcs tab allows you to complete the entire process in one tab for determining state-adjusted CABCO crash costs from national MAIS person injury costs. Finally, the spreadsheet tool supports the development of severity-weighted crash costs, such as the average cost of a K or A-level injury. The T-KM tab, or translation from CABCO to MAIS, will estimate an equivalent number of MAIS person injuries from some amount of CABCO person injuries. You can enter injuries of a single severity level or a distribution of injuries as shown in this demonstration. The results automatically populate as you begin entering data. The gray cells show the intermediate outputs as each level of CABCO is split into its MAIS components. The row of blue cells contains the total number of each MAIS injury after translation. The T-MK tab, or translation from MAIS to CABCO, allows you to translate person injury costs from MAIS to the CABCO scale. Simply specify the MAIS person injury costs you want to translate, and the spreadsheet automatically multiplies those costs by the appropriate translation factors to get equivalent CABCO person injury costs. In this example, we demonstrate the translation of NHTSA's 2010 person injury costs from MAIS to CABCO. The gray cells show how much each of the MAIS levels contribute to the resulting CABCO costs that are shown in the blue column. The Weight tab allows you to develop severity-weighted crash costs. The tool requires a set of CABCO costs by severity and a distribution of crashes or person injuries to weight them by. You may enter the severity distribution in total numbers or proportions. The spreadsheet then calculates a set of predefined severity-weighted costs by your entries. In this example, we'll enter the national crash costs in $2016 from Federal Highway's Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide, as well as a hypothetical distribution of 10 fatal crashes, 50 A-level, 100B level, 250C level, and 1000 property damage only crashes. You can consider using weighted costs in analysis instead of costs by individual severity level. Refer to FHWA's Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide to learn more about the benefits and limitations of weighted crash costs, as well as preferred methods for dealing with the different costs by severity. The Convert tab allows you to perform unit conversions between crashes and person injuries or vehicle damage. You may enter your own data for conversion ratios or use default national data. The spreadsheet tool facilitates the following conversions. Each option has a separate set of cells for data entry in yellow and output in blue. You only need to enter data for the conversion you want to make. 1. Convert Cabco crashes to person injuries, which shows the number of person injuries from each severity crash, as well as the total number by severity. 2. Convert Cabco person injuries of each severity to equivalent numbers of crashes in each Cabco level. 3. Convert between property damage only crashes and numbers of vehicles involved. 4. Convert Cabco person injury unit costs to Cabco crash unit costs. 5. Estimate property damage only crash unit costs from vehicle unit costs. The Adjust tab allows you to develop state-specific crash costs. You should first input the national costs you want to adjust in the top table. Then, select whether to use default PCI ratios from 2016 or to specify data from another time period. To use the default values, select a state and the spreadsheet will automatically populate the appropriate data. Otherwise, you'll need PCI data for your state or region, as well as the national average for the same time period. This demonstration shows the adjustment of national costs to a hypothetical state with a PCI of $61,200 in 2016. The national average PCI was $49,571 in the same year, meaning this state had a PCI that was 1.23456 times higher than the national average. This ratio is used as a multiplier to adjust the value of the national crash costs to the state. While the spreadsheet asks for comprehensive cost inputs, the PCI ratio applies to all crash cost components in the same manner. The Update tab allows you to update crash costs to another year to reflect changes in the time value of money. There is no single index to update comprehensive crash costs. You should enter both the economic and quality adjusted life years unit costs components for the crash costs you want to update because each component is updated with a different index. You may select default CPI and MUWE indexes from 2000 to 2017 under the drop-down menu, or specify index values for other periods. Let's demonstrate both options. Here, we're entering the National Economic and Quality Adjusted Life Years cost for 2016 from the FHWA Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide in the top table. We'll use the default index option to update the costs to $2017. Then we'll specify the indexes to update them to 2019. To start, let's choose the default index option from the dropdown. This will gray out the user-specified portion for now. Then, select 2016 for the base year, which matches the crash cost inputs above. And finally, 2017 for the update year. Once you enter all the necessary data, the spreadsheet tool will automatically calculate and display the CPI and MUWE ratios used in the calculations, as well as the updated economic, QALY, and comprehensive crash costs by severity, as shown here in the gray and blue cells. Now let's go back and update the 2016 costs to $2019. Select User Specified from the Index Selection dropdown. This allows us to update the years not covered by default selections. Our base year is 2016, and update year will be 2019, although we don't need to enter those. The CPIU for all items not seasonally adjusted was 240 in 2016 and 255.7 in 2019. The resulting CPI ratio for 2016 to 2019 is 1.06542. Refer to the companion video on the FHWA Crash Cost Guide for further instruction on how to find CPI values. Note the CPI data is published on a monthly basis, so you will need to compute the average of the monthly values for a given year when updating crash costs. In the next column, the current dollar median usual weekly earnings for all wage and salary workers age 16 and older, not seasonally adjusted, was $832.50 in 2016 and $917 in 2019. The MUWE ratio for 2016 to 2019 is 1.10150. Refer to the companion video on the FHWA Crash Cost Guide for further instruction on how to find MUWE values. Note the MUWE data is published on a quarterly basis, so you will need to compute the average of the quarterly values for the desired years. The updated 2019 crash costs are listed below in the blue cells. The Full Calcs tab is meant to simplify the calculation of state-specific crash costs based on NHTSA's person injury cost estimates from their 2010 report and Chapter 6 of the FHWA Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide. This tab combines the methods to update and adjust national crash costs to states using state-specific crash data and economic indexes for the current year. You may streamline the calculations with default settings or specify other economic index values for the state and time period of interest. Let's walk through an example to perform the full calculations to adjust national crash costs from 2010 to 2016 for a hypothetical state. The first step, which is optional, is to input a distribution of crashes, vehicles, and injuries for the state or region of interest to account for the average number of vehicles and injuries per crash. Ideally, the distribution should reflect multiple years of crash experience. The data shown here are from Table 30 and Section 6.1.2 in the Crash Cost Guide, which are the same as the default spreadsheet data. In Step 2, we can select User-Specified Data since we entered it in Step 1. Otherwise, we would select Default National Data. The spreadsheet includes default data for 2011 to 2017. You should consider entering local data when available. If we were to select Default National Data, the Step 1 table is grayed out, indicating the data aren't used for conversions. The third step is to enter CPI and MUWE data. The base year is 2010. As in Step 2, you can select default data or specify your own index for the target year. In this example, we'll use the default CPI and MUWE indexes for 2016. Step 4 is to adjust the national crash costs to a state. We'll select User-Specified Index and enter the hypothetical state's 2016 PCI from the prior example, $61,200, and the national PCI of $45,971. If you already have the PCI ratio itself, for example, 1.23456, you can also enter that value in the state PCI cell and a value of 1 in the national PCI cell. The spreadsheet output is a complete table of state-adjusted crash costs ready for application in highway safety benefit cost analysis. The economic index ratios associated with the output crash costs are listed below the table in gray cells for your reference. States can use this spreadsheet to easily update their crash costs annually or every few years. The methods and calculations demonstrated in this presentation and facilitated by the Crash Cost Spreadsheet tool will allow you to develop state-specific crash costs for the current year. There are many resources available to support you in using crash costs and conducting highway safety benefit cost analysis. Click the web links shown to access each resource. The first resource is the FHWA Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis Guide. The guide has much more information about crash costs and the calculations implemented in the spreadsheet tool. The second resource is a link to the Crash Cost Spreadsheet tool. For details about the original 2010 person injury cost estimates from NHTSA, refer to NHTSA's report linked here. These costs were the basis for the 2016 CABCO National Crash Cost Estimates in the Guide and Spreadsheet tool. FHWA's Highway Safety Benefit Cost Analysis Guide describes detailed methods to apply crash costs in benefit cost analysis. A related tool helps to implement the methods from the guide. Thank you for your interest in the Crash Costs for Highway Safety Analysis spreadsheet tool. We hope you've gained a better understanding of crash costs, how they are developed, and how to update and adjust them for highway safety economic analysis.